So why does purpose make people very rich?
So a lot of people have been asking what this DUBI and purpose is about and if I could explain it. So I'm going to be explaining it really step by step, everything. I also want to tell people that purpose and DUBI have been going really crazy. Reese is already taking steps to have a foundation so we can put in stone a legal framework. What we want to do and what we want to achieve is decentralized universal basic income for everyone. I want to make sure that nobody sees this as a guarantee. We're not trying to give any trading advice or anything. I just want to inform you guys. So this is a disclaimer, no guarantees. Here's my explanation for purpose and DUBI. Hope you guys enjoy it and you guys can catch me up on the stream twitch.tv/teamlive.
I thought of explaining this with a metaphor because it's much easier. I was always talking about stage 3. And what is stage 3? Stage 3 is basically a loophole into the crypto that allows you to keep having purpose and its counterpart DUBI go up. I will just explain it here as if, you know, imagine I have a marketplace, right? I sell apples. If you come, right, to the shop, which is in our situation the exchange, and you get yourself apples, you can turn the apples in for bananas. We have two products. We have apples and we have bananas. If you buy, let's say 100 apples and you go and you turn them in, you can basically turn in 100 apples for 4 bananas. The thing is, when I say turn in, it's not fully accurate because you don't really turn them in. What you do is you store your apples in the store, in the fridge, right here. And after a year, you get to come and pick your apples up again. And then you can either choose to sell your apples or you can turn them back in to get, again, 4 bananas. Let's say now one apple is $1. So it's gonna cost you $100 to get 100 apples, right? Let's say you turn them in for bananas. Then now you have 4 bananas. What the marketplace says is like, hey, we will give you $1 for each banana. So we only need $4 to basically buy your bananas. So now you might wonder, okay, that's interesting, but I bought 100 apples. But the thing is, you only get the bananas when you store the apples for 1 year, which makes it so the marketplace will have the 100 initial dollars that you paid to get your 100 apples. And if you end up choosing to bring in your bananas, we will still, the marketplace will still have $96. Our marketplace does not buy apples. Our marketplace only buys bananas. And as a result, since the bananas you can only get by locking your apples away for 1 year, you basically have a market where even though the value of the bananas is guaranteed, the value of the apples isn't. What does this actually entail? If you have 100 apples and you paid the marketplace $100, we have $96 to be able to back up the value of the bananas, including the bananas that you got for your apples. So basically, 100 apples allows us to back up 100 bananas, even though you only have 4. That means we can back up 25 more bananas than we can back up apples, although each year. Because every year, if you choose to put your apples into the marketplace, you keep getting 4 bananas, right? So now what we can do with this $96, we can use them to increase what we pay for bananas because we got more money. Everything depends on how many bananas are in circulation. And right now, there is around 50,000 bananas in circulation. What does this mean? If we want to be able to buy all the bananas, what we need is $50,000. That's all we need for 1 year. If we want to buy all the bananas for 2 years, that's $100,000. Imagine a banana costs $100 and an apple costs $100. How many apples do we have to sell at $100 to make sure we can pay $1 more for the 50,000 bananas that are in circulation? So like $1 more for $50,000, that is $50,000, right? That is the amount that we need in order to be able to increase what we pay for bananas for 1 year. So if we sell apples at $100, we only need to sell 500 apples in order to increase what we pay for bananas from $100 to $101. This is just purely the math. The way the system works is like the apples is the purpose and the bananas is the DUBI. We have 50,000 DUBI in circulation. Purpose, there is no purpose in circulation. The only purpose that is in circulation is Reese purpose, because all the purpose got stored in the shop as apples and everybody got bananas except Reese. Reese is the only one that didn't get bananas. And Reese has 1.4 million apples. So what Reese is doing right now is he is putting on the IDEX exchange in return for Ether apples or purpose for $100. At the start, he sells 1,000 apples, right? So he gets 100K worth of Ethereum in dollars. What it allows him to do is to increase what he wants to pay for bananas by $1. So from 100 to 101. He basically can just start paying more for bananas. He's not forced to pay $101 for his bananas and increase the price, but it's in his own advantage to do so, because by doing so, the price of his apples keep going up. If he stops offering more money for the bananas, nobody's gonna buy his apples anymore. So it's in his own advantage to keep increasing the value of the bananas. But if he starts paying too much for the bananas, everybody that has bananas will start going to the marketplace and sell them. So he needs enough money to buy all the bananas for people to feel fine and okay, to keep the bananas at home and wait until the price goes up before they come back to the marketplace and sell them again. Once Reese has sold 1,000 apples, right, for $100 each, he has $100,000, which he can use to pay $1 more for bananas that are handed out each year for 2 years. He can basically buy all the bananas for 2 years. Now Reese says, I'm gonna pay 101 for all the bananas. Now he also sells his own apples for $101. So he stops selling them for 100. Now he sells his apples for $101. So now instead of having to sell 1,000 apples to get $100,000, he only has to sell 990 apples to get the amount to increase the price of the bananas to 102. As a result, the amount of apples Reese has to sell through time, each time it goes $1 up, it's less and less and less. And let's say now an apple is worth $1,000 rather than 100, and a banana is worth $1,000 rather than 100, he only needs to sell 100 apples in order to be able to increase the value of the bananas with $1. What you see here now is that the price of apples or purpose through time keeps going up, as well as the price of bananas. And the reason why it keeps going up is because Reese will always have the money to buy the bananas. Even when people start stopping buying apples, he can still buy bananas for 2 years. So this is actually a system where, rather than other systems where when you go and you buy apples, they don't give you back money. You have your apples and the only value that you give your apple is to which extent you value the apple. Like Bitcoin or any other crypto, most of the cryptos, they don't really have, you know, an actual value, except the value that people give. Some have technical reasons and stuff. At the end of the day, what people care the most about is not so much about the apples or the bananas, but whether the curve goes up. And the system we set up here allows the curve to keep going up and people making more and more and more money from their apples and their bananas. Now you might wonder like, okay, but what about after 2 years? After 2 years, Reese doesn't have enough money to buy all the bananas. He only has enough money to buy 2 years worth of bananas. That's not fully correct. When you look at the bananas, you can a little bit compare with the money in a bank. When you look at the money in circulation for banks, and you can look that up, right? Banks make money by borrowing money to people, to a person A. And when that person A then buys from person B puts his money back into the bank, which the bank can then borrow again to a person C. And as a result, even though the bank doesn't have all the money, they only need 10% of the actual money in the bank for them to be fine. So if everybody that has money on the bank goes tomorrow to the bank, there is not enough. And that's why also with economical crises, they stop, they let people only go withdraw a certain amount, because else the entire economy crashes. You saw that happen in Greece, you see that happen regularly when there is an economical crash. So basically, the reason why the banking system works is because most people keep their money on the bank. But it's the same for the bananas. If you look at the bananas, there is only going to be a very small percentage of people that will sell their bananas to Reese in the marketplace. Actually, I would say between 3% and 10%. If the numbers correlate with the bank, then Reese can literally, instead of 2 years, provide for all the bananas for 20 years. Of course, you could say like, yeah, in a doom scenario, he cannot. But even then, Reese is using all the money that he's getting from people buying his apples to buy people's apples that people put on the market for lower than what Reese put his apples to. Because I said in the start, Reese sells his apples for $100 one apple, right? But now people that bought apples can still go to the marketplace and sell them for 99. But if Reese now uses the money that he got from you buying apples to buy the ones that are priced lower, he will be able to sell these apples later in time, once apples are worth $1,000, for $990. And you can see that he already increases his revenue by 10. So speculating on the market allows him to increase the amount of money that he has on top of what people have bought the apples for. But now there is something else. Because I myself, I have 990 million apples myself. You might say like, but that's crazy. If you go on the market and you drop your apples, apples will be worthless. That is true. But I'm not allowed to go to the market and sell my apples because that's illegal. I'm not allowed to profit from my own apples. You can look into a security token and into utility token, and that's what makes what we did a utility token, because I ain't profiting. You need to be classified based on European law as electronic money to be classified as a security rather than a utility. You guys can look it up and read up on it, but for electronic money, you need to sell something. I need to sell and get something for my apples for it to be classified by the law as electronic money. But since I'm giving it away for people donating to Save the Children or for people donating to Reese, I'm not profiting, therefore it is not electronic money. So basically these 990 million say like, oh, why do you need it then? Well, basically Reese is working on a foundation, right? A charity that will allow people to donate to them, like organizations or philanthropists or even governments, in order to get my apples. Because they can just donate to Reese, and I am freely allowed to give these people that donate to the charity my apples. I don't have to. It's still a donation. This is where my apples can be handed out and distributed. But now, what happens with the money that people donate through the foundation of Reese and as a bonus get my apples, that money does not go to increase the value of the bananas, but rather to increase the amount that Reese can use to buy the bananas at the price that it is right now. The money that is used to increase the value of the bananas is only the money that Reese gets for people buying apples from him. But if people get apples for donating to Reese charity, that money does not go in increasing the bananas value, but rather to strengthen the amount of bananas that Reese can buy throughout time. And this system on itself, as we go through time, will allow us to start providing for all the bananas up till 1,000 years. What does this do? This system, it allows us to start introducing more bananas. And that is what a banana is. Banana stands for DUBI, which is the actual reason why we started Purpose and Everything. It's for decentralized, universal, basic income. Universal basic income is something people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk already think it has to happen because more and more jobs are being taken by automation. And if we don't do that, we will be faced with a humanitarian crisis that we have never seen before. It's not like with the Industrial Revolution where people became engineers and stuff. Now computers and machines will just do better jobs than all of us and all the people that drive trucks and stuff. You guys can just look into the numbers. It's a very scary outlook, and if there is no universal basic income, things will collapse. Society will collapse because more and more people will lose their job and they won't have money, they won't have buy power, and the government will have to find a system. The problem is that universal basic income is not such a system that is very greed friendly, because most people don't want to give money to poor people because they go like, yeah, I found a job, and that's how people think. It's like they should just go and find a job even though there is no work. The reason why we started Purpose and DUBI is to solve this problem. So like now with all these bananas, since there is more and more money being poured in to Reese Foundation, since Reese Foundation wants to supply DUBI for everybody on the planet, now organizations and philanthropists will want to donate to it, which allows us to start introducing more bananas. But now you can ask like, yeah, but Athene, how much do people have to donate for one apple when they donate to Reese? It's going to be 2 to 4 times higher than what people have to pay for an apple on the exchange. Therefore, people donating will never undercut the price of apples on the exchange and will only be beneficial to strengthening the ability for Reese to keep buying bananas. And right now, there is no legal framework for that, and it's all Reese being a nice guy on the exchanges. But as we start a foundation and stuff, we can create a legal framework that makes it legally binding for Reese to do so. He will have legal restrictions where he have to use all this Ethereum that people donate for what people donated it for. And if they donated it to strengthen the amount of bananas, then he has to use it for that. That is the system that will allow us then to start distributing bananas around the globe, or DUBI. Now you might wonder, but you only get bananas by handing in your apples. That is not true. There is another way to get bananas, and it is the allowance contract. The allowance contract is basically our ability, or my ability, because I'm the one that is the owner of this allowance contract. I have the ability to distribute DUBI as I wish. I can print as much DUBI as I want. Of course, I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to explain you how I'm going to go about distributing this DUBI around the planet. I'm going to work on smart banks. For people that don't know how cryptocurrency works, everything works with code. Code can guarantee how your crypto is going to behave and stuff, and that's why you can cut out the bank as a middleman, because you don't have to, trust the bank. You can just trust the code, and that's what does it for you. But what you can code is what I'm going to do for DUBI is I'm going to code a smart bank that is an intermediate between the DUBI and the person that benefits from the DUBI, the beneficiary. This smart bank can basically comply to government regulation by having automated taxation or restrictions or stop money laundering. And since the beneficiary will get his own electronic decentralized passport, which is also something we're going to be working on, we can literally say this person has the ability and the right to interact with this smart bank, and then another person has its own smart bank. So each person on the planet will have its own smart bank based on the country that he lives in, and that smart bank will follow the rules and compliance to the government. And as a result, DUBI doesn't just become a decentralized universal basic income, but it also becomes one where corruptions in governments can be just tracked and everything. Of course, you can wonder like, yeah, but I want to do with my money what I want. The thing is, the DUBI that you get right now from Purpose is not regulated. But for the future, with the allowance contract, and when we want to actually distribute it amongst the world, we need to be regulated with governments. So even though the Purpose and the DUBI right now you get has no regulations, maybe the governments will put certain regulations, I don't know what the future will be. The DUBI that we will hand out through allowance contracts in the future, when the foundation grows, will work through electronic passports of each individual on the planet that interact with a smart bank that complies with each government and each country, so that you pay your taxes, and everybody, when you buy cheese or luxury products, you pay more taxes. When you buy bread or water, you need to pay less. Everything can be automated. This is basically the future. And even though I know this is extremely ambitious, we are already planning, once DUBI reaches 10K, to try and implement it in a local village. We have good connections with Save the Children, maybe we will work with other charities, but being able to try out the DUBI system in third world countries is not going to be such a big challenge, because doing it locally as an example to show the world that it can work is something that is achievable. Definitely if Reese is sitting on millions and millions and millions and millions worth of ether. I also want to say, people might wonder, but these people in these poor countries don't have computers. Third world countries have sometimes better smartphones than us because it's their lifeline. And when I went to Mali, or when I went to Indonesia, or even Liberia during the Ebola crisis, because we raised more than $23 million for charity. I'm one of the biggest philanthropists on the internet. I've gone to many different countries, raised more than $23 million for charity. There's also interviews on CNN, you can look it up. Just type Athene CNN on Google and you'll find it. All these people that I meet there, most of them have actual smartphones. This entire cryptocurrency, being able to technologically deploy it, is not that much of a hassle. You might wonder, yeah, but they don't have internet in remote villages. But the thing is, even Ethereum is coming up with their own technology to have a decentralized kind of bank that you then can connect with the internet to update the numbers. I think they call it the Raiden network, which is something that we will also be using and work on. So let me explain you why this purpose is gonna make you rich. Right now, purpose is at $110. Keep in mind, 3 days ago, it was at 100. So we already went 10% up in 3 days. The reason why I'm not really going to investors or why we keep it quite off is because we want our audience to really get into it before very rich people get into it. Since you only need $100,000, right, to increase the amount that people want to pay for bananas with $1, if a banana is worth $100, you only need $10 million to double the price of bananas. $10 million is nothing. Then if you're at 200, the amount of dollars that you need to get a banana to $1,000 is 100 million. There is ICOs that got more than $100 million for literally scam coins. Same with $10,000 is 1 billion. $100,000 is 10 billion. Do you know that when it comes down to exchanges, these numbers are peanuts? It's not that much. When you go to Wall Street or you look at the amount of money in circulation with the NASDAQ or whatever, these amounts are literally peanuts. And once investors start seeing this graph keep going up, because that's what investors care about, making money, once they start seeing the graph go up, what they will just do, more and more money is gonna pour in, which allows Reese to keep increasing the buy wall. And as we go, we also are more and more able to start deploying decentralized universal basic income around the globe. So now, to give you guys a little bit about our future projects, because this is just giving you guys an idea of how the math works and how it all adds up. There is going to be in the description a link to a Google Doc that shows you a little bit like the timetable of how the amount of DUBI will increase and how much purpose will be added to the exchange in small batches, because that's what Reese does. He just adds 100K batches, and when one batch is taken, he adds a new one. You can just check it in the description how this is going to progress. But on top of that, we're also working on projects. We're working on a mobile game that will be done in March and hopefully be released, unless it takes a while to be approved by the App Store and the Google Play. It might come on the market in April, we will see. We also work on an app, a productivity app. Our next project after the mobile game will be a decentralized exchange. We have a team of 30 people that is growing, of volunteers that are trying to change the world and implement this DUBI around the globe. A lot of these ICOs that people really lose a lot of money on have a lot less backbone than we do. But of course, this is not just about the vision, the ambitious vision to have a decentralized universal basic income. It's also about checking the track record of Athene and checking the math to see if it adds up, and then make a decision. Do I, want to be on this or not? And if you then do decide, you can just go to the live stream, twitch.tv/AtheneLive, or go to PRPS on Reddit, or you can also go to prps.io to check it out. There's going to be a lot more information in the description. Make sure to check it out. Purpose used to be 2 purpose for $1, and now 1 purpose is at $110, and I bet while you're watching this video it's probably even higher, and by the time you watch the stream, if it's in a few months, it might be at 500. I don't know. Of course, we don't know what the future will bring, but this is the math. Check it out for yourself. This can very much impact your life in a very big way. It sounds really crazy, but even though Reese is right now just being a nice guy, applying the banana buy wall, think in his place, what would you do? It is really better for him, it's better for everybody. Think about it, reflect on it. You can be skeptical, let people know about it, but this is basically everything explained. If you have more questions, feel free to check out the stream. I'm not gonna promise you guys any guarantees. At the end of the day, Reese is not allowed to guarantee you guys anything, but if you believe in this entire system and it makes sense, and you want to get yourself some apples, make sure to check out the marketplace, because right now, the price is keep going up for the apples. The sooner you're there, the better. Keep it up, and hope this explains everything.